Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to this video. So if you're watching this video, you've made it to the fourth and final paper in English 101 online, which is the argumentative research paper. And so you're going to be doing this paper in this class, but so you're going to be learning a lot of the same skills that you're going to learn next semester, English 102. Depending on who you take it with, I suppose. But you're going to be learning a lot of those skills, which should help you in 102, which is generally more of an argumentative research writing class rather than sort of a descriptive expository writing class like 101 is. 101, this last paper is very geared towards helping you develop those skills you want to refine in the next semester. And so, with that said, by the time you're watching this video, I hope you have started. I hope that you first came up with a topic. And if you haven't, maybe look at that topic brainstorming video I posted. You're supposed to get approval for a topic from me. So if you haven't gotten that yet, let me know. Usually, whenever I approve a topic, I say, "Oh, this sounds good," or maybe don't do this, or maybe here's some things you can keep thinking about. That's usually the kind of feedback I give. Sometimes with these kinds of papers, I'll warn you ahead of time. Usually you don't want to do kind of like a conspiracy theory topic. Did the government stage the moon landing and stuff like that? The reason why you don't want to do that is because these kinds of papers are grounded in solid logic, things that we can back up with evidence, which those kinds of conspiracy topics, you really can't back them up with credible facts. So that's my only caveat there if you're still in the topic deciding process. So the other videos that you're going to need to watch in addition to this one, you're going to need to watch the finding sources in the library databases video. It's probably better to watch that before this video, but I don't suppose it really matters in the grand scheme of things. Then this video, then you're going to need to watch another video on citing sources. So there's going to be 4 videos you can watch in pretty much any kind of order if you want. And split them all up into smaller videos. That way, won't be too much to digest. This video, though, is about the actual composition and writing of the fourth final paper, classic argument. So moving to prompt. And so, second, right, keying up. Okay, so paper number 4. Here I am. Paper number 4 is the standard argumentative research topic paper. So you're going to do, this is the longest paper in English 101. You're going to do a lengthy, about 5 to 6 pages argument, which you take an argumentative stance on a controversial issue and seek to develop that argument with a number of premises. By premises, I mean like building blocks to an argument, the reasons, several different reasons why you think your argument is right. You're going to want to acknowledge the other side of the argument and refute it accordingly. So before I go too much further, let's just scroll down into this prompt to look at the formula. More than any other paper in this class, the classical argument deals with formula. This is if you here. you fit yourself into the formula, you're going to be doing the paper right. Like, get this window the way I want it. And so the way the formula works, so you're going to be proving a topic one way or the other. And so to begin the paper, you're going to want to give an attention-grabbing intro with a thesis statement. So at the beginning of a paper like this, you always want to sort of grab the reader's attention in an interesting way. You want to hook the reader in to actually caring about what it is you're getting ready to write about. Usually really boring intros start with something like, in today's society, global warming is a big problem. You always kind of want to avoid those kind of really boring intros. There's lots of ways that you can write or engaging ones. You can maybe give an alarming fact or maybe an alarming statistic. Maybe you start the paper out telling a personal story, a personal anecdote. Anything really besides just starting out a paper saying, in today's society, this is a big problem. That's the way. Sometimes it's okay to start like that as long as it gets you started writing. When you actually get to the final product, it's always better to have something more interesting. I say this next part is a thesis statement. The thesis statement is the most important sentence in your paper. It's where you're actually making a stance one way or the other. This is what my paper is setting out to prove, one way or the other, about this topic. And so, providing you one second, guys, let me fix this. Probably skip ahead 20 or 30 seconds in the video. I'll just do this. So on this prompt that I've provided, type it here. You'll see the sheet when I upload it to Blackboard. I'll just copy and paste it. Here we go. Yeah, so whenever you're writing a good thesis statement, then you want to follow the formula as much as you can. So on this sheet, kind of want to acknowledge the other side of the argument along with addressing what your argument is. So we have this sentence. Here. While others believe blank, I argue that blank because blank, blank, and blank. Let me break this down for you. This first part of this sentence is what we call a tension phrase. Tension. Putting your argument in tension with the opposing argument. And so fill in the blank pretty much, right? While others believe this part of the argument, I'm arguing, you can use synonyms here, right? I'm arguing, I'm contending this because here's all of my different reasons. So whenever you're writing this paper, then these reasons that you're addressing after this because, that's the proof that you're going to use for your argument in the actual paper itself. And that's the proof, that's the building blocks of your argument that you're going to be using. So whenever you write these, then you want to make sure that everything after this because are all clear and distinct reasons. Sometimes where students go wrong with this, sometimes all their ones after all their reasons, some of them are kind of similar to each other. You want to make sure all of your reasons are really different anchoring points for your arguments. And so if we go back above here then, we go back above, but we then see the next few parts of the classic argument. So the next part is called the neutral summary of both sides. After your thesis statement, about half a page, this is where you're kind of showing the reader, hey, I'm educated on my topic. I know what it is I'm talking about. And I know what it is I'm doing. And this is where you just without even arguing yet, you just, in a short paragraph, it could be 5 to 6 sentences even, just show the reader all the different reasons for and against your topic on both sides of the issue. Right? So, what are the arguments for this side? What are the arguments for this side? You don't interject quite yet. You don't say, hey, this is how I feel about it. At this point, you're just showing the reader all the different arguments. And you'll probably cite the source that you're using for your arguments too. This is a good place to get a lot of your citations out of the way from your research. To show that you've actually done the research. After this is where it starts getting a little more simple, and it gets more simple if you do your thesis statement right. This is your argument. What are the building blocks? What are the support that you're using to defend your argument here? So if we go back down to the thesis statement, go back down to the thesis statement, everything after this is going to be what you're going to be proving within your paragraphs in the actual paper itself. And so you start out this part of the paper then by defending your first point, whatever order it is you listed in. So defend your first point. You guys remember I've covered paragraphing, building the burger, right? So you have a topic sentence to start your sections. That usually a good topic sentence will relate back to your thesis. So whatever it is you wrote in that because. You can even restate it word for word if you want. You have evidence for your evidence. In this case, is your research. Then you have your interpretation part, which is where you're driving the point home to the reader. So, I'm arguing that stem cell research is good because it can potentially cure cancer. Okay, here's my evidence from the source, from the research I'm using. Then you drive home your point, right? Don't we want to cure cancer after all, right? Don't we want to have all these medical advancements where people won't suffer? I'm just kind of making stuff up, but you guys kind of see what I'm saying as far as how these paragraphs are going to work. They don't even have to be just one paragraph. You can even think about it in terms of sections, right? So long as your sections all follow that kind of order. Topic, sentence, evidence, interpretation. Topic, sentence, evidence, interpretation. So that'll take the majority of this paper up. Okay, usually about 3 pages or so. The final part of this is the acknowledgement and refutation of the counter argument. So until, besides the neutral summary, this point in the paper, you haven't yet addressed the counter argument. You haven't. You've been kind of, think about it in terms of like football, right? You're on the offensive at this point. You're making your own offense, showing the reader why the reader should believe the same thing as you. And now, at the end of this paper, then, kind of got if you're doing a good job, you've already got the reader in your good graces. So what you do here at the end, then, is this is the kind of like final knockout blow, knockout punch that you deliver at the end. So I presented all of these arguments. Now, here's what this other side thinks. Okay? Based on all the overwhelming evidence I provided above, here's why this other side, frankly, isn't right. Here's why this argument is unsound. So I say acknowledge the other side and then politely punch the other side in the kidney, right? So you want to make sure that you're kind of like ruthless. I'll be ruthless in a like this person is stupid kind of way. You just want to like politely dismiss that argument, show how that argument isn't as sound as yours. That's one thing you can do there. Another thing that's sometimes good to do is maybe at this point of the paper, you would want to say, okay, the other side does have some good points. Right? I'm not completely right on this. I will concede at this point to the other side. However, even with conceding that point to the other side, I still think my point more convincing. You can also do that. You don't have to completely be ruthless, completely attack the other side. Sometimes it's a good strategy to say, well, the other side has its points, but I still think my side's more convincing. And then simply put, at the end of this, have a conclusion. What I want for a conclusion, I don't want you to summarize what it is you've just written. Frankly, 5 or 6 pages, my attention span isn't that bad, where I can't remember what I've just read in the last 5 or 6 pages. And so do more than a sort of like simple summary, conclusion, recap. Not really what, that's the way that's often taught to do in high school. I don't want that. I want to do something interesting and unique with the conclusion to make me actually remember your paper. And so, maybe one strategy that you can do is call to action, right? What can I, the reader of this paper, do, to take some kind of action to enact your topic? What can I, the common person, do? How should I think about this differently? What's the larger significance of this paper, right? What's the larger significance to our society as a whole? If you look at the midterm revision pack I gave you, I actually gave you a list of conclusion strategies as well as introduction strategies. So take a look at that again. It's on Blackboard in case you haven't seen that already. So with this paper, if you follow the formula, you get that really good thesis statement. It's going to be in good shape as far as the actual composition goes. What happens when these papers go wrong is when you don't have this thesis statement. For the purposes of 101, I recommend following this formula I've given you as much as you can. The more comfortable you get as writers, you can break out of this kind of like elementary model for writing a thesis. More comfortable, but that's the more comfortable you get. For now, I'd recommend you stick with this because it'll help you stay organized. It'll help you stay on track. If you write this out to begin with, you can then maybe even outline your paper, to make it easier for you to write it. So that's the actual bones of the paper. I'm going to ask you to incorporate about 4 to 5 peer-reviewed sources in your paper. So like I just mentioned, there's several places that you can do that. You can take care of those in the neutral summary. You can cite stuff whenever you're proving your point. You can cite an article and then refute it in a counter argument. Well, I'm not really asking for a big number there, but 4 to 5. And like if you watch the other video on finding sources, I explained to you what good sources are, where you can find them. So as far as the deadlines and all this goes, this applies. So if you're in a future class beyond fall 2018, these dates will be different. So just take a look at the prompt then. You can probably skip ahead a bit in the video if you're watching this later. But the deadline, of course, I have a 16-week course and a 12-week course here in fall 2018. And these things here are for the 16-week course. So Monday, the 26th of November, I'm getting it to you over. Hopefully, you'll get started on it well before Thanksgiving break. I never like to give papers during Thanksgiving break. We've been kind of running behind in this class, so that's why I'm asking for it after break instead of before break. But Monday, November 26th, right after break, by noon, okay. And so right after the break is over, this paper should be due. But if you knock it out of the way early, you don't have to worry about working on it during break so much. There's going to be various check-in phases. If you're in a future class, you'll probably be doing similar assignments to this. So for the first check-in, this is for the 16-week course. If you're in a 12-week course, look at the instructions I give you. But the first check-in, just do some searches in the database, start doing your research, find stuff. You don't even really have to check in officially per se. You can, during that time, you can probably ask me, if you want to, if you're having trouble finding sources, you can ask me. Maybe we can do like a Skype or FaceTime session. You can actually do share your screen over Skype. So in fact, we can actually be there one-on-one, or you can come to my office. For the next check-in, I actually want you to do a double log entry of the 5 sources you're going to do incorporated into your paper. On one side of the double log entry, you're going to cite your source according to MLE format. Again, I'm going to post another video for you on the MLE format. And then on the other side of the log, you explain what the source was about. Then maybe sort of briefly analyze it. How useful was this source to you? Did you learn anything from that source? And so I'm going to ask you to do that on the double log. The next check-in after that, post your introduction and your thesis and your neutral summary to the discussion board. Put your thesis statement in bold letters. The reason why I'm asking for that for a check-in, I want to make sure that all of you have good thesis statements. I want to make sure that you're all on the right track in that regard. That way your paper doesn't fall apart because you don't have a good thesis as you write the paper from there on out. Okay. Then, of course, after that, that'll be Thanksgiving break. I think if you're in the 12-week course, some of these might be condensed into one day. And so, just so you know. And I will get on the discussion board and respond to each one of these thesis statements. Make sure you're on the right track. So that's For the sake of time, we're not going to do a peer review this paper like we've done with the first three. It's kind of disappointing, but that's just kind of the way. Of course, we got started with this class kind of late in the semester anyway, because I didn't start until the first week of September. Teacher, at least during fall of 2018. It'll be different if you're watching this video later. And then, of course, the paper's final due date, final deadline, right after the break. These dates are contradictory. Make sure that they're... Okay, so that should basically cover it, my expectations for the paper, as well as the formula. We'll also post a reading about this paper, the classic arguments, from a textbook I have. I'll post that reading in the Blackboard so you can hopefully supplement what I've discussed here too. You know, as far as the difficulty of the paper, I think the text analysis is far more complicated than this. You know, this is the most tedious, the longest was tedious of the four. You know, but as long as you follow the formula, I think it can be an easy paper. Now, I'll also say this. Sometimes with these research papers, this is when students tend to panic. Sometimes if you procrastinate too long on this paper, like Beth from the Scandalous Research article. Sometimes if you procrastinate too long, sometimes students will get desperate, plagiarize, like get a paper online or something like that. And for the love of God, don't do that. You know, I will know. And so don't do that. So, work on it in these steps that I'm giving you. Everything will be well. If you have any questions, just know. Hopefully this video is clear. Till then, see you guys next time.